Warning, 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 warning. 3, 2, 1. The FantasyFootballTips.co podcast with Mills and Quigliano.
Hi, you're listening to Fantasy Football Tips in association with Premier Punt, the home of daily fantasy football betting. My name's Mills, and I'm pleased to say I'm joined in the studio today, in the studio live, no Skype calls this week, with Quigliano and the voice JP. Hello, boys.
Hello there.
Hi there.
Listen to that authoritative tone of JP's voice. Isn't it beautiful?
Thank you.
He's got a beard to match the voice this week as well.
Yeah, you know, it's November, commonly known as Movember.
So you've grown a full beard.
So I've so in a 6-month preparation for that, I've grown a beard.
Are you telling us you're going to shave that into a moustache?
That will not be happening, no.
So just pointless reference to November.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
But I think could we get a picture of it to tweet out to the listeners, because we've got a lot of followers out there now.
I mean, it'd probably be rude not to.
I mean, we could do a whole article on your beard, I feel.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a rumour going around that you're almost catching up with your mum there with that beard, so that's a positive as well, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so anyway, we're into game week 12. Would you believe it? Already, almost a third of the way through the season.
Crazy.
It's we had those two sort of glory weeks, didn't we, in October, where we had a few teams. I know Quigliano, you were one of them. Pretty much 100-point weeks back to back, and then we had sort of a not so good week. How was last week for you, Quigliano?
Dismal week, mate.
Bad week.
Bad week for me.
So, the tips. You actually had people on Twitter hashtagging God complex about you.
Yeah, I know. I agree. What's your point?
Oh, my point is, after game week 11, a little bit less of that was going on.
Well, I mean, there's talk of religion, and I obviously that's part of belonging to a religion is something called faith. Now, if God just came down and was like, here I am God, and you could touch him and he did miracles in front of you, you'd be like, oh, right, God exists. There'd be no need for faith.
But you do exist.
Well, precisely, and so does the religion of Quigliano. And maybe that was a little test for those followers of the religion to maybe a few doubting Mills about, is he for real? Well, yes, he is for real. And you've just got to believe people, have the faith.
Okay, strong words from Quigliano. I mean, we can't argue, really, can we? The run, to the extent that it was, couldn't go on forever.
It could, mate, but it was just obviously...
It was a test. You intentionally put it in there as a test.
Of course I have.
So you're not blaming the fact that it was not a live podcast in terms of me and you in the same room?
Potentially had an impact.
I mean, that's obviously why we're able to do this today, because we can squeeze you in today in terms of ego.
Quite literally, we're all huddled round here.
We are indeed.
JP's legs really pushing up against mine. That is a shame.
Okay.
It feels quite nice to me, but...
So, I want to bring up our podcast team, first of all. I just showed it to JP just prior to the podcast, literally minutes ago. And what were your words, JP?
One word to describe it is horrified. It's awful, especially in the attacking area of the pitch. There's actually a defender playing who I'd never heard of. Proddle. I mean, listen to that name.
To be fair, he was playing every single week until we put him in, and then he's for some reason been dropped. But yeah, I mean, we've got a few injury concerns this week as well. Bellerin, injury concern. Sacco, injury concern. One of those strikers that obviously you're talking about.
Gomez is a slight concern, isn't he, as well?
And
for the season.
Yeah.
Still on the bench. Just sitting there all happy and pleasant, doing nothing.
And last week we achieved a whopping 30 points. At what point do we go, we're not discussing this podcast team anymore, it's all about the personal team?
Very soon. It's always been about the personal team for me. But
I know, but again, so...
I'm handicapped with you, really.
Well, I think...
Putting your input in there.
My only sort of input, really, that ruined us was when I didn't let you play Coutinho at the start of the season.
And he scored.
And after that, I let you make every decision. So pretty much it's your team, I would say.
The damage was done, mate. The damage was done.
Let's just look at this team. Begovic in goal, who's playing for Chelsea, who have got pretty much the worst defence in the league. Eric Dyer, not a bad shout. Bellerin, not a bad shout.
Great shout.
Proddle at Watford, not brilliant. And then obviously Gomez on the bench. and Target, both of whom obviously aren't playing.
The cheap players that were playing,
They
and now
were.
not, yeah.
And we've just not been able to do anything about it. De Bruyne, Sanchez, Mane, Mata, not bad shouts.
It's good.
But then Sacco,
I'm depressed by Sacco.
Houlihan, Target, Gomez,
Well,
Prodal, players
yeah,
that
you're
are
not
just...
listing there because you've got Bonnie in there. Now, the week before we would have been happy with Bonnie. Martial, he's been shifted out left midfield, and that's killing him. And United aren't scoring. I mean, the Man United players are the major concerns there for me because they aren't scoring. If you've not got a defender, you're not reaping any reward there.
And it brings me to a question from Twitter, actually, from Tucker. @Tuck_9 if you want to reply yourself to Tucker. He's asking the question, should I be filling out my team with a midfield formation, 3-5-2 perhaps, and dropping that third striker because the mid-price midfielders are playing so well at the moment? Or should you always back your strikers, he says?
Well, you've got your hand up there, mate. I mean, I like that you think you're in score, able to put your hand up and wait patiently.
Absolutely.
I'm the kid that shouts out, so I'm going to dominate this.
That's absolutely fine.
No, personally, sorry for spitting on you there with that P.
I like it. It's okay.
I think it's the strikers are where the points are generally at, and as well, you're talking about a 3-5-2. For me, that would mean you'd be having like two very expensive strikers up top.
Yeah.
Which they're not about at the minute unless you're going to go for Costa. You can actually fill your team, your front line, with some decent, like cheap price players like Pella, Lukaku, and Vardy. That would be a very cheap front three. That goals being scored is a very realistic option, which could still mean you can have expensive midfielders.
Yeah, so 4 strong midfielders
Yeah.
and then your 3 decent defenders as well. So, JP?
I'd also like to add to that, and is there actually a need for 5 midfielders at the moment? Are there 5 midfielders I'm so desperate to have in my team that I need to sacrifice a striker? I don't think there is. There's a few obvious midfielders that are probably in most people's teams.
We've not got Mahrez, we've not got Payet.
We
I
did have
would-
Mahrez.
I mean, Mahrez is of course a good signing, but you'd have him in a 4, wouldn't you, with 3 other good midfielders? I don't think you'd need a 5th midfielder to do that. To be honest, that's my opinion.
It's all about what you can afford, isn't it? And what's on the sheet that you're working with. But generally, I think 3-4-3. But that isn't gospel. Okay, back to that religion again. But that isn't gospel. You don't have to. You do it. What's in front of you. So.
Okay,
Have we answered the question there? I think we generally 3-4-3. I would lean to.
You've answered it in the style of a politician. Right, we'll be back after this with this week's Game Week tips.
You are listening to Mills and Quigliano on the FantasyFootballTips.co podcast. Sponsored by Premier Punt. All your fantasy Premier League tips in one juicy little podcast. Get in touch at www.fantasyfootballtips.co.
So, Quigliano, it's time for this week's Game Week tips. I'm going to come at you very, very fast and very, very hard.
Yeah, say no more.
And I want to know the Gary of the Week.
Gary of the week. Well, he's somebody who still doesn't belong to me. How can he be in the upper echelon of the leagues without him? But Mahrez, Gary of the week.
Absolutely. And it just ties in with a tweet that I sent out earlier today. 81%. I asked the question over Bonnie, who obviously Man City playing against Villa this week, Leicester at home against Watford, Bonnie or Mahrez, who's going to score the most points? 81% of people think Mahrez. And I will also just point out, he's rated the 3rd best player in Europe's top 5 leagues at the moment in terms of player ratings on WhoScored.com. Top 3. Only Neymar and Messi above him.
The rumours are that Manchester United are actually looking at buying him in January.
They are. So so we're going, he's the guaranteed performer of the week.
Absolutely.
We are, apparently so, yeah. So we're going Mahrez there.
Okay, so where are we going with the Xabi Alonso, the long
The
shot?
long shot. So, again, we had a little discussion. Possibly not a long shot. Probably not fulfilling the actual name quality. But Coutinho is a man who has had very mixed form. Like you say, started off with a goal, then dried up. Couple of assists in between to sort of whet your appetite, but actually at the weekend he looked like the real deal, and the way they're pressing so high Liverpool up the pitch, he's left in the positions to maybe get a chance. So long shot is Coutinho, it's time to get him in.
Okay, I'm not going to go at you too nastily on that. I mean, obviously, he did score 2 goals last week, so he's pretty obvious, isn't he? But, okay, let's move on. So, Delia. Where are
It's
you?
Ross Barkley. Where were you when 6 goals were going in at Everton? Where were you
Unbelievable.
in terms of assists and goals? Because you got 2 points.
Yeah, and I think JP, you said he actually played
He
brilliantly,
was superb, and just no points. No points. He was involved in goals.
but just didn't get that
Didn't
final
get that
assist,
final
or
assist.
final goal.
So again, I know he listens and he'll probably appreciate the shout out. So Ross, where are you? Let's see you next week.
Okay, and that brings us on to the fans' favourite, the side tips.
Hashtag side tips. Well, we'll go thick and fast then. Okay, not talking about Wilfred Bonney in terms of that. I did make a comment the other day. The size of his backside, Wilfred Bonney is like a fridge freezer combo. He's an absolute unit. Delafeu of Everton. Somebody I think reasonably priced. Somebody you can get in your team. I think it's 6.2. Everyone's raving about Everton's fixtures, and when they've scored 6 goals as well, it's easy to see why you might want to fill your team. Somebody I think who has got goal scoring potential as well as assist potential, whack him in. Money in defence is an option at the minute. There's a few clean sheets from Man United and Southampton, the other team. I think we mentioned him last week, Bertrand. Did he get an assist? Can you confirm that for me, Mills? I think he did. But somebody for them who does get forward, and they do keep clean sheets. So
He did get an assist,
he
yeah.
did get an assist, yeah. So Bertrand, definitely an option. Vardy, I think 49% of people own him. Unbelievably, I don't own any Leicester players.
Shocking. It's absolutely shocking,
I'm
considering how well you're doing in the league.
Oh no, imagine why didn't I back him? But I just don't think this Leicester bubble is real. Although I was saying that about Harry Kane last season, so there are mistakes in there.
And Vardy and Mahrez are the top 2 point scorers
yeah.
in Fantasy Premier League at the moment.
Good God.
Unbelievable.
Can I add to that? And I want to encourage people, big shout, if you've got Vardy in your team, captain this week.
So you go Vardy captain over
Vardy captain
Mahrez?
this week over Mahrez.
He's very confident in that. Do you know something we don't?
No.
If only you could see that bearded smile.
It's nice, isn't it?
Have you read the book The Twits? Then you'd obviously be able to see.
The
where
thing
it
is, the
was from.
hair is very slick, and then you've got this rough beard. It's
to
messing
draw
with my head.
It's to draw people into an illusion.
Okay.
What, this guy's a tramp. Is that
I can't work out whether this guy is a tramp or not.
Okay, Quigliano, any more side tips for us?
Yeah, City have got another good fixture against Villa. KDB rested in the midweek game against Sevilla. Definitely worth getting back in your team. Harry Kane, another goal. Kane is back. It's as simple as that, and he does like those derby games. Arsenal fan, actually, isn't he, Harry Kane?
I believe so.
So maybe he's going to turn up and show them what they missed out on.
Okay, fair enough. And just a little teaser, really, a little prompter for you from Tom Butcher at TomB1980. He's asking, at FPL_the source, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on Dele Alli and how his stats rack up. So, how he's getting on, and do you think he's going to do well? And then he wants to know about My Hill replacements. Now the fixtures are turning for West Brom.
Well, I like Dele Alli. Considered him for my own team when I was looking at the wild card.
And very cheap as well.
Very cheap. 4.9 is it? Just to confirm that one for me. It is 4.9. He's on Price Watch today. Good option. Just for me, that would probably be my fifth midfielder and probably my sub. And there's nothing worse than seeing the one sat on your bench scoring a load of goals. But then at least you want them playing. So definitely an option. And then in terms of the keeper, I do like Butland at Stoke, and he raked in the points at the weekend.
He absolutely did. I mean, he's a quality keeper. If he was playing for a slightly better team, then he would probably be a massive pick for most people, wouldn't he?
I agree. What I will say, if Price is, if people have got a little bit of money spare, I would go with Peter Cech. I'm going to make a bold claim now.
Peter Rabbit.
Yeah.
That fine Englishman.
Yeah,
Peter Cech.
Yeah, Petr Cech, yeah. I'm going to make a bold statement here and say that no keeper has kept as many clean sheets as him. not being checked.
In the
Okay,
history
they
of
obviously,
football.
they obviously trust me on that one. I appreciate that's probably the beard that's brought that trust. No one's kept more clean sheets than him, guys. If you've got the money, get Peter Cech in your team.
Get Peter Cech in.
You are a man that breaks the rules, though, aren't you? Because you've got Cech in goal and another Arsenal defender.
My heart says that's the right decision at the moment.
I think you're wrong, but
I will just say that Bellerin and Cech have scored me consistent points most weeks.
let's say Harry Kane scores this weekend, you're shafted.
Yeah.
Okay, so boys, I think that pretty much wraps up this week's podcast, doesn't it?
We are in a rush, aren't we? Tonight?
Well, we are, but I mean, JP's been picked up by his mum, isn't he? So
Brother, actually.
Oh, brother. Sorry, brother.
So we won't get to see that luscious beard. That is a shame.
Actually, he has a slightly larger beard than me, actually.
Right.
So if you are interested,
Larger
In beards.
In beards.
a few ways.
I wouldn't say that.
Boys, it has been a pleasure. And just one thing to remember, if you're not on top of this, obviously it is an international break coming up after this. So you might be thinking about keeping that transfer this week to save 2 free ones for the week after. Okay.
Pleasure.
It has been a pleasure. Quigliano, it's lovely to see you again in the same room.
Yeah, I know it is.
And we'll see you next week.
Warning, 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 warning. 3, 2, 1. The FantasyFootballTips.co podcast with Mills and Quigliano.